there's a handout that's on Canvas. We did not print paper pieces of it. If you need me to print you a piece of paper, I'm happy to print you a piece of paper. But I did not print them for you. So we're going to talk a lot about safety today. And this is my rant about the internet. I'm not going to read it to you because you can read it yourself. But the bottom line of it is there is so much. You guys live in an age. We were just talking about this morning. Somebody said there was a student, we were in the scene shop, we were building scenery, and one of the students was talking about something, and she said, we were talking about some term, and they started talking about the etymology of that term. And she said, I want to take a class on the etymology of words so I could learn where all the words came from. And I said, you don't need a class on that. All you need is Google. You already have that. There's no, and so what you guys are living in, it'll be really interesting to see what this scenario looks like when you're my age. Because I will predict that education is radically going to change in the next 20, 30 years. So be ready for that, because we have so much information that's available with the click of a clicky, with a tap on a spot on a screen. So anyway.
Tell it to the camera.
What's that?
I said tell it to the
Tell
camera.
it to the camera. That's watching our every move. There's a whole bunch of really good information in there. But go to qualified. Make sure you know what the difference between some person on a forum versus actual good information. There's a link to OSHA.gov here. OSHA.gov is a legit thing. They know that's the pinnacle of good information. You start going down from that, and there's a lot of people. If you search stuff. I'm sure you run into this all the time. I need to know how to do this thing, and there's 7,982 people that have an opinion about it, but only one person that actually has the answer that you need. But finding that and weeding that out of the 7,895 responses is pretty hard. So be aware of that. If you'll notice, this has a bad date on it. Look at that. 2020 was the last time this got updated. I opened this up. Was preparing for class today. I opened this up and I was like, oh, I haven't fixed that. The last time I taught this class, Tom was running the scene shop, and so these are Tom's rules from when Tom ran the scene shop, and I have not read them or updated them since I took over the scene shop, so I should probably do that. But for now, these are the rules. Marley's going to bring a ladder over, and we're going to talk about ladders here in a little bit, so we'll skip past that. On the back page, if you'll notice, mine has some interesting highlighting that yours won't. Do you remember that part about just a little bit ago? I pulled out my computer and said, I'm going to prepare for class. And so I was clicking on all these links in the PDF that you could find on Canvas. And guess which ones don't work? The company that's providing that has these on their website, and they have moved them. I don't know if they even exist on their website anymore or not. Marley found a ladder. We'll talk about a ladder now. So they don't exist, but if you're an internet sleuth and can find those, that would be great. They're a good read, but certainly not anything that you have to have. What do we know about ladders?
If you walk under them, you get bad luck.
If you walk under them, you get bad luck. Is that really true?
No. Yes.
It depends on who you
I'm
ask.
not going to try it again.
I have walked under many ladders in the course of my life and career. Just FYI. So.
Why does that exist? Why is it bad luck to walk under a ladder?
Well, because it's kind of dangerous.
Because it's kind of dangerous. Go.
I was going to say it's kind of dangerous. I was just going to say it's dangerous because someone can drop something.
The closer if somebody's working up there, the idea that there's something that they could drop or they could knock over or something, there's a real danger of something happening, of you getting hurt. So walk under a ladder is bad luck because you could die. Don't walk under ladders. Do I walk under ladders? All the time. Do I crawl around under ladders? Is part of my job being under ladders? Yes, absolutely. So I don't consider it bad luck. I figure the more bad luck I have, the better off I am because I don't have good luck. So, just in general. So I don't prescribe to any of there are unlucky people in the world. I'm not the top of that list, but I don't consider myself to be a person that has necessarily good luck. So I just don't, I don't play to it. So one time there was a Joe Court. I said the word Macbeth in the theater, and Joe Court lost his mind. And he was like, "Take it back!" And he was like throwing salt over his shoulder and doing all kinds of stuff.
For the non-theater humans in the room, we can say it in here because we're in a classroom. We're not in a theater. Downstairs, I will get superstitious with you on this one, just mostly because I think it's fun.
It's fair.
But so Macbeth is the name of a Shakespeare play that involves some very scary ghosts and lots of death and being haunted by murder and a bunch of things. So there are a lot of stories in theater lore about like companies that have produced Macbeth and then had accidents, etc. sort of happen. Curtis is going to get into many accidents that happen inside of theater today. You can sort of take this as your content warning for what is to come. We're going to talk about some dangerous kinds of situations. So we have this superstition that you can't say the name Macbeth in the theater unless you are performing the play. And if you are not directly saying it as Shakespeare wrote it, then you have to use a pseudonym. So we call it the Scottish play,
The M Show.
Mackers, McBee.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways to refer to Macbeth outside.
The show that shall not be named.
Yes,
People
I mean
say all the
sometimes.
time.
So there is, yeah. And then the funniest part about this superstition, though, is the various ways people have come up with to, if you do accidentally say Macbeth in the theater, what you have to do to remedy the space so that it is safe, so that no one will be harmed. I mean, it's things like running around the whole building backwards.
Yeah.
Getting salt all over
Right.
by throwing salt over your sage. There's a whole bunch of like things that can be involved in the. I don't like exorcism is the word that comes to mind.
Yes,
but I don't
exactly.
know, whatever you like to get past.
Because
the
you summoned the evil spirits, and
You
then
have,
therefore you
yes,
must
to
appease
get rid
them
of
now
the
that
evil,
they're
yes.
here, right? So.
Yeah, the ghosts of Macbeth that
Right.
travel to where they. Anyway,
We were talking about climbing ladders.
we were. Do you want me to demo or do you want to demo?
I don't know.
You do it.
Um,
I love that.
what do we know about ladders?
They make you taller.
They have steps on them so that you can climb up, so that you can be taller. How do we know? I don't even know where to start. How do we know that our ladder is safe for us to use? Go.
You want to have you want to make sure that all 4 feet are firmly touching the ground.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the lock on both of the bars, that they're fully locked.
Right.
And then you should have at all times 3 points of conflict or contact.
You're way ahead of the game here. But keep going.
I taught ladder safety and lighting design too. That's where that comes from.
Okay. Before we even get there,
Those are the big 3.
let's
for
talk
Barbie.
about some things that we should observe about our ladder before we even get to those parts of it. We should make sure that it even has a lock on it, and that it's functional.
Well, that's
And
not
that all
really
the
a
steps
ladder.
are here, and they're not bent or broken or anything like that. How many of you have been traveling on an interstate highway in the United States of America and seen a ladder on the side of the road in pieces? Okay. If you just watch out the window, you're going to see one. I promise. Somewhere, somebody has lost a ladder on the side of the road, and it has gotten ran over. Anyway, there's somewhere in California, there's a joke about the daily ladder, because literally on this some stretch of freeway out there, if you drive the stretch of that, you're going to see a ladder that came off of somebody's vehicle somewhere on that stretch of road. No, the first thing is make sure that your ladder is safe and that it is not broken. This is a very good example of a very good ladder because it's a very new ladder that hasn't seen a lot of use and abuse. So, it's a good ladder. It is made by the Bayer Corporation in Worcester, Ohio. Notice this is similar spelling. Worcester, but not Worcester. Worcester is not Worcester. This is an American-made ladder by American people. So there you go. It's a good ladder. If you get a chance to buy ladders, you should buy ladders from here because this is one of the only companies that actually still produce ladders in the United States. That's my keep jobs local rant for today. Okay. Select the right ladder for the job. We have so many different types of ladders. Make sure you're using the right ladder for the job. What am I going to do when I'm at home and I need to do something that uses the ladder? I'm going to go get the ladder that I have and I'm going to use it however I can to achieve the thing that I need to achieve because guess how many ladders I have? One. Okay? So be careful. Keep that in mind. If you're working at a place where here, Miami University Department of Theater, we have 6-foot ladders, we have 8-foot ladders, we have double-sided ladders, we have single-sided ladders. We have many different kinds of ladders so that we can make sure you're using the appropriate ladder. If you need a taller ladder, go get a taller ladder. If you need a shorter ladder, go get a shorter ladder. Make sure you're selecting the right ladder for the job. Okay. Number 2. How many people have seen there's a video clip from years ago. It was one of those home shopping sections where they're selling this extendable ladder. And the guy is over there, they're talking about how great this ladder is, and the guy is kind of almost off camera, but not completely off camera, and he's extended this ladder out to its full height, and he climbs all the way up the ladder, and then he reaches out to clean the window, and he goes over on live TV, and almost died. It was bad. Don't overreach. You can get too far out over the ladder. In general, you should be centered on the ladder, and you should not reach out more than your arm can reach without moving your body. That's how far you should reach. If you can't reach whatever it is that you're doing within that distance, you need to move the ladder. You need to find a different place. Okay? Do not stand on or above this step. Look, has a label right there. Do not stand on or above the step. You can lose your balance. Do we ever stand on or above the step? It happens.
Would you like me to do it right now?
What's that?
Would you like me to
No.
demo it right now?
Well, yeah, we can do it right. And I'll show you why. Because in this situation, if I'm climbing up here, by the time I get up here, I've got other things to hang on to keep me from falling off. Okay? So that is a breach of the rules, but you shouldn't do that. I mean, a lot of it is, there's so many things to talk about. A lot of it is situational awareness too. Is what I did just then, was that unsafe?
It could be, yeah.
Right, it could be if this light wasn't, see how that's wiggling? That pipe is pretty solid. But if I was grabbing onto something that had a lot of movement to it, it could be unsafe. But no, I made it up there and got it back, without dying or anything like that. So you can do that. Does OSHA, can you regulate that? No, you can't regulate that because you don't know what is going to be up there. Every time you do something like that, it's going to be a different set of scenarios. So, situational awareness is the number one thing. Make sure that you know what you're doing and that you don't get surprised. Okay? Firm level ground. Most of the places that we are going to be using ladders in our environment is going to be on a solid floor. Now, you start getting into the theater where we're putting scenery into play, we've got a platform there, so that makes it, we got the ladder up on one end, different things like that. In the theaters, the floors are sloped and things like that. So yes, it can be hard to get on level ground. The big thing is if you go outside. What's the ground made of outside? Dirt. What happens when dirt changes moisture level? It changes hardness. It can either be really hard or really soft. So make sure that if you're outside, that you when you put your feet down, the feet of this ladder are very small. They'll go in the ground really easily. So make sure that whatever you're putting the ladder on outside is firm enough, is hard enough. Never move a ladder while a person is on it. Have I ever done this? Not really on purpose, but sometimes yes. Sometimes if you stand on a ladder, I'm gonna try. This one's hard to do.
It's a really good ladder.
It's too good of a ladder. It's too stiff. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm up on this ladder and that leg is not touching the floor. It's sometimes I've been trying to help somebody because their ladder isn't flat on the floor, and so they start climbing it before I really realize what's happening, and I'm moving the ladder so they can, now, typically that happens when they're on the first or second step, and it's not a problem, but can happen. Make sure you're not moving the ladder while someone is on it. Inspect the ladder before each use. This is a great ladder. There's levels of inspection. We could very carefully analyze each one of these points to make sure there's no cracks in it or anything like that. You're not gonna do that. That's not the reality of what's gonna happen. But do make sure that it is safe and that something's not really wrong with the ladder. I'm terrible at it. I don't do it. I grab the ladder, I sling it out there, and I start climbing on it. If it starts making some noises or something, or starts feeling funny, then I'll be like, oh, what's going on here? And then we'll look into it a little bit more. Take breaks. Do not spend the whole day on a ladder. We did a project several years ago down in Studio 88 where we did a bunch of put in a bunch of new pipe for the lighting grid. There were 3 of us. We literally spent the entire day down there on ladders the whole day, and it sucks. Your feet start killing you. If you know you're going to be spending a lot of time on ladder, go get the shoe with the hardest, stiffest sole you can find, so that it doesn't flex when you're standing on that ladder, so it distributes the load of the rung across the entire bottom of your foot. So if you're going to spend a lot of time on ladders, make sure you are prepared, that you have better footwear than just a pair of sneakers. Maintain center of gravity between the ladder rails. I talked about that a little bit before. When you're on a ladder, a good rule of thumb is to make sure that your center of gravity is centered on the ladder, that you're not reaching out too far. Okay? Have I reached out too far? No, all the time. Have I ever done one of these numbers where I'm half on the ladder and half on something else? All the time. No one's gonna tell you that's okay. No one is gonna tell you that's okay. Have I ever climbed up a ladder and then gotten off on another level? Absolutely. What's the most dangerous part of that?
The ladder fall.
The in between. The step from here to there and the step from there to here is the most dangerous part of all that. If you really start digging into OSHA, the transition from a roof to a ladder or a lift or an elevator or something like that, there is a ton of regulation about that specific moment in time, because that's where most of the accidents happen. Especially if you're really high and you're transferring fall protection systems, because the lift or the ladder has its own fall protection system, and then you have to transfer to the other one, and so you're unclipping from one and clipping onto the other one. So, never overload a ladder. I mean, every time I step on a ladder, it's overloaded because of my big ego. Okay, sorry, guys. This ladder is where's it at? Somewhere on this ladder. Made in Ohio. So it's gotta be on here somewhere. Safety ladder first. Industrial rating. It says 375 pounds here. It doesn't say. Right here's the list. The types. Type 1AA, Type 1A, Type 1, Type 2, Type 3. This is a 1A. Oh, it says right there. I'm an idiot. Who can't read that? Type 1AA, right there. So Type 1AA ladder is the heaviest rating that the National Ladder of Ladders Corporations, I don't know who issued that standard. I think it's a Nancy standard. But that says this ladder can support up to 375 pounds. Now, is that per side or is that total ladder? I don't know. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd have to ask that question. It is a double-sided ladder, so it has steps on both sides, so you can climb either side. And I think as long as you don't go past 375 pounds, you can climb both sides of the building. You can have 2 people on the ladder.
It's the combined weight of the user and materials or tools.
But it doesn't say. I assume that's per side, or that's total ladder and not per side.
I would assume the same thing.
Type 1A. I'm sorry, I skipped that past the big red one. I feel kind of dumb now. Remember that editing part we were going to do earlier?
Yeah, we'll do it. Don't you worry. We'll
So,
skip right to type
know what? Most of the ladders that you're gonna run into in normal residential stuff are gonna be probably type 1 or type 1A. Potentially, or probably type 1 or type 2. How many ladders in my house are type 1 or type 2 ladders? 0! All of the ladders I have at my house are type 1A or better, just because I'm that person. Well, there's one little folding thing in the house, but that's for in the house. So just don't put too much weight on a ladder. You can overload it. Ladders are not cranes, lifts, or work stands. How many times has Curtis used a ladder to prop something up on it? There was one time where we were taking down a light fixture in a room. It probably weighed about 400 pounds, and the electrician that was taking it down didn't realize how heavy it was before he took it loose, and it just came down on the top of the ladder. And so then we were stuck there with this thing halfway up and halfway down. It was quite the ordeal in getting it down off of but yeah, the ladder was definitely saved everybody's life from it falling completely to the floor. Ladders are not cranes, lifts, or work stands. This is the OSHA safety card for ladders. It basically says the same thing. Okay? Marley, did I miss anything? You got anything else you want to add about ladders?
I just want to demo what 3 points of contact
Oh, we
means.
didn't talk about 3 points of contact.
So the idea of 3 points of contact is that you always, when you're climbing or on a ladder, you want to maintain 3 parts of your body in contact with the ladder at all times.
2
okay?
feet, 2 hands.
So when this gets, so right now I've got 2 feet, 2 hands. So when I climb, look, I have a foot that is not on the ladder, right? So now I just have 3. So I put this foot down before I move this foot up, right? So now I need to reach something out here. 2 feet, 1 hand, right? In lighting, 9 times out of 10, I need both my hands to do whatever it is I'm doing, right? And so I am gonna make contact with the ladder with my thighs, or my tummy, or my shoulder, right? So that I can use both of my hands. The same thing for if I'm carrying something up a ladder, right? So if I'm carrying up the ladder, then I want to make sure that I'm up, as I go to step, some other third part of me is making contact as I step up, as I'm holding. Does that make sense, y'all? So 3 points of contact can look like a lot of things.
Yes, absolutely.
When I'm gonna tell the hunter story. I think there's something really significant about you being comfortable on a ladder.
Right.
Okay? I am much more comfortable leaning forward on the ladder.
Facing the ladder, yes.
My natural sense, I think most people are.
Yeah.
But most people are more comfortable sort of this way. When I first started at Miami, I had a student in the previous version of this class focused on lighting who would literally climb a ladder, and then
Normal
can I
person.
even do it? Climb a ladder like a normal person. And then no matter what height he was
Yep,
working at,
didn't
he would
matter.
turn like this.
Turn around. Not more, yeah.
And the number of times that I tried to get Hunter to work the other way on a ladder,
Yep.
and he just would it was like he couldn't make his body work.
Yeah.
He couldn't figure it out. And then as soon as he moved the ladder so that he could be like this, he could do all the things that I was asking him to do. And that for me was this what feels good, what feels safe for me, what is steady for me, what feels like the best that's not the same for everyone.
Right.
Got it. Different people are going to want to do different things on a ladder. This is super comfy for me. Just lean with my legs against the ladder. For someone else that might be wildly uncomfortable. You might be much more comfortable with the shoulder or an elbow. Does that make sense, y'all?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important when you're climbing the ladder to sort of figure out for yourself what feels safe and what doesn't. Because that's gonna be a really good indicator of when you have balance and when you don't. You gotta trust yourself in that. And it's okay if it doesn't look like, I still think it's because Hunter was just so laid back.
Yep.
He just really would prefer to be leaning against the wall
Yep.
all day
Yep.
long.
Yep.
And that is not my personality, and was very Does that make sense, y'all?
What's the foundation of all of it is balance. Is to make sure that, you know, if you've ever stacked up building blocks, there's a point at which things start getting out of whack because what's happening there is that you're losing balance. That's why it falls over, it's because it's not balanced anymore. And so as long as you're balanced on the ladder and it's not falling over, you're fine. The minute things get out of balance, and sometimes they can get out of balance for very abruptly and for very surprising reasons, that's when things go wrong. So make sure you're paying attention to all the things that keep you balanced. Okay. That's enough about that. Unless anybody else has any important things along.
We're
Okay.
gonna keep this in hopes that we have time at the